गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबको स्वागत है। टुडे वी गोना टेक look at China and see what uh, China's dilemma with us is. Most of the time we feel that we have problems with China, but we often forget that China also has problems with us. And that's what we're going to see today, right? Which is pretty important the way I look at it, because it's always good to know what your opponent or your adversary is thinking about you. Okay, I really don't know what's yeah. Now, how do I go about it? That's the fundamental issue which I'm going to talk of. Look at it this way. Uh, Sometime back, when I used to read the Chinese newspapers, there was some good news about China, or rather, the good news about India and some bad news about India. But the bad news and the poor news was more. A lot of people died here, some train accident there, some outbreak of disease, hunger. Those things, ruled the roost earlier. Yeah, I think there's some problem with the brand. I'll yeah. Okay. Sorry. And that is not interest. I'm not interested in that. Okay. Anyway, we'll go through with it because there's some issue in this whole story. But notwithstanding that. Okay. So, like I said, there were pretty indifferent stories. Once in a while, they'll say about India being good, bad, or ugly. And the frequency of reporting on India was quite less, but not anymore. Today, when I read the Chinese papers, invariably every day there's an article on India, and uh, at times two also appear. This is rare in South China Morning Post. And if you see Xinhua and Global Times and all that, anything important, it comes. And there are a lot of things which they convey through their newspapers. So I thought, let me see again, in my style. This is my style, because if you read the newspaper of a country, you generally come to know what's happening in that country and what's the outlook of that country. That's why we all read newspapers. We come to know what's happening in our country. Same thing with China. Okay. For the past 30, 40 years, yeah, JBJP, some setting has just gone as I put it on. That's why that logo is not coming. But I leave it at that. I'll set it right after this. Uh, Not to worry. Uh, the past 30, 40 years, uh, I would say about when you look back in the about 40 years back or 30 years back, China was just progressing and all their news was more on progress. But in the past 10 to 15 years, the news, a lot of news from China focus on how should uh, China overtake USA, how USA is declining, when China will overtake USA, and things like that. And it reached a crescendo during the COVID time. After that, a lot of things have happened, due to which things are coming back to some kind of a normalcy. But that's not the important thing which we're going to talk of. The issue is, as China is running after USA, it's now looking over its shoulder at India. Earlier, it didn't bother, but now they do. As of now, there's no comparison, but comparisons have started also in some manner, right? And at this stage, I want to, put across something. Everyone says China is a bigger economy. It is a bigger economy. Who said it's not bigger economy? Uh, you say call it $17 trillion economy or $10 trillion economy, it doesn't matter. Ours is steady, $4 trillion economy. But the GDP alone has got no value. It's the rate of your growth which tells you where you're going. In physics, there is this entity called momentum. What is momentum? Mass into velocity. It is that momentum which propels a nation forward or not. Today, India has that momentum. That mass into velocity factor is with India. The mass is your GDP 4 trillion, but your velocity is much more, much more. Okay. Whereas China's velocity rate of growth has dipped. Growth rate has dipped. That's why the growth rate is important. And its GDP is stagnating. So if you look at the mass into velocity equation, momentum, you'll see that there is some kind of a balance. People don't agree with it, I have no problem. But there is. And when you consistently read what comes out of China, that is when you understand that there is something to this. The whole story which I'm talking of. Then there is something called force, mass into acceleration. What is acceleration? The square of the rate of change of velocity. Okay. That force, because your velocity is high, your acceleration is high, your force is higher. That is why you see a lot of things, a lot of people are looking at India in a much different manner than before. It's now becoming discernible. So now China has no option but to take note of it. Right? And it has a dilemma. What does it do? Does it go after USA or it tries to stop India or do both? And we must understand to a large extent the Chinese political setup is become stagnant. In fact, I will say it's not stagnant, it's going back. Look at China. It had reform, I wouldn't say it had a communist rule, completely revolutionary communist rule under Mao. After Mao left, Deng Xiaoping started reforms. Reforms went on till Xi Jinping took over. This man has started counter reforms. And what is that counter reforms? What is that counter reform leading to? It is increasing the power of the state at the expense of the household. It is securitizing people as welfare of the state. It is centralizing the party to be above everything else. It is eradicated the difference or the distance between the party and the government. Whatever the government used to do earlier, today the party is doing. Now that's dangerous for China. That's very, like the Desi stand he says Mao Xi Jinping is Mao 2.0. I agree with him and maybe more. So it is in this context that we have to see things as we move ahead and see how India fares against China. Most importantly, it's not what we think, it's what they think. So let me dive into what I have to explain to you what lies ahead. Look at this. Recently, China gave a stimulus. Very good. People said, look, that stimulus is going to change a lot of things. But equally, people today are skeptical that it will change. That stimulus per se is not good enough. You need to do more. because the stimulus has, you know, loosened the monetary policy. And now I'm technical. That means it has come aided the banks. It's given more money in the hands of banks to give it to people, right? But there are other policies which have to come to put money in the hands of the people to spend. It's not as it there. Now, some of the questions which are coming up, he says in this South China Morning Post, right, editorial, he says, can China's stimulus bazooka repair confidence, income deficit, and housing market? Very important. Confidence. We are looking at a China which doesn't have the confidence in it. And the stimulus will not overcome the income deficit. You might give money to the banks to give to people, but will people take that money because tomorrow they can't repay it? So there's a problem, right? So this is a very, very, very major issue as far as China is concerned. Okay. Now look at it. There's one of the top economists says, look, whatever has been done is okay, but if you want to maintain momentum, I told you momentum. He's using the word momentum, this fellow. That's the headline. He says China's fiscal package needs to be sizable to maintain momentum. They don't have momentum. They acknowledge it. This is acknowledgement that they don't have momentum. He says, if you see this article in detail, China needs to do more. Can China do more? Will China do more? Or are question marks? They have to increase consumption. Their stimulus is oriented to manufacturing and supply. Completely opposite. So where will China go? $1 million question. Okay. Now, look at the demography. All right, demography is next. Sorry. This is about e-commerce. Now, everyone says China, electronics, this, that, cyber, Weber, Bober. But look at this. There are ghost cities of e-commerce. I mean, something for the first time I read today. We've heard of ghost cities of property and all that. They built a city where they thought will be the hub for e-commerce, and that's become a ghost. There's no one there. So there's something happening in China which is making it stagnate. China is stagnant. That's my short analysis. And then, of course, look at the anxious youth, no plans to marry or buy a flat or save. One child army है इनका, one child फौज है, one child people है. They don't want to marry, fine. If they don't want to marry, let them take a job. They don't have jobs. Because the job, in my estimate, today the unemployment rate in China is up to 30 to 35%. Because last year, when it reached 20%, for 3 months they took those figures off, and then they said, no, it's only 14%. That 14% has gone back to 18-19%. Another 5% over the original one, and add to the ones which are not reported. And their criteria for unemployment is funny. If you are employed on a temporary job for even 2 days, you are counted as employed. So that whole figure is this thing. So if a person doesn't have money, what will he do? He is not going to spend. He will not go into consumption. He will not buy a flat. As it is, people who have bought a flat don't have that flat, but they're paying mortgages. So there's a big problem in China, and everyone knows that in China. Now comes the look over the shoulder. Okay, of course, this bit of the one-child generation I've explained. Now comes the contra-reporting. The contra-reporting about India. They say that India's stock market is on the verge of a boom. They are struggling. They had to put $1 trillion into the system or 1 trillion yuan into the system for the stock market to go up. We're not doing that. And after that, also today analysis, Q3, 4 analysis, which I read and heard, they say there's no guarantee that stock market will remain high there. It will remain high because you put so much money into the system, it has to go high. But if you cannot sustain it, it's going to go back because the structural economy of China has not changed. The fundamental structure has not changed. And there's one more very, very fundamental thing about China which we have to understand. China had a culture. That culture was broken by Mao and the Chinese party. When Deng Xiaoping started reforms, he tried to get that culture back, but it had gone. In fact, though he tried to get the culture back, it didn't happen because he imposed a one-child policy. The one-child policy broke whatever culture was there because a lot of Chinese internal rigor and culture and traditions dependent on a family, an extended family, cousins, uncles, aunts. With this one-child business, this country is a country without brothers or uncles or aunts. So that fundamental traditional structure and culture of China has been broken by the Communist Party and Deng Xiaoping. And over and above that, this fellow Xi Jinping is taking it back. So there's a problem in China which many of us don't understand. And I'm going to talk of it. And I think it's a great weakness. Okay, you look at it on that score, you see this stock market in India on the verge of a boom. That's what they say. I didn't say it in our newspapers, but the South China Morning Post reports it like that. And then this from Hussein Haqqani, who's a Pakistani ambassador, who's completely disowned by Pakistan. He stays, I think, in USA. He says India now ranks in the top 5 countries for 45 of the 64 critical technologies. So we said, is China ahead? Yes, it is ahead. But you're there, somewhere there. Like I told you, I keep telling, India is one of the 4 countries in the world which has capability to go to moon. The moment you can go to moon, you are knocking on the doors of being a superpower. Anyone who's got a Mars or a space program of the way we have and above would be a superpower. There's no difference after that. In this, you're technologically going up. Last year, you were in the top 5 in 37 technologies. And today, you're in the top 5 in 45 technologies out of 64. And this is from ASPI. It's an Australian think tank. And it is tweeted by a Pakistani. So you see what's happening. China is being forced to look back over its shoulder. Okay. Now, is that all? Why is this happening? China is not only poodle faking its GDP, they are also inflating their influence through bias citations. And this is a problem. When people say China has the maximum patents, they don't. They have patents, but those patents are useless. Their papers are very good, but they don't lead to anything. Because they keep citing. One chap writes, he takes the citation from the other guy's paper. That guy writes the next paper and takes the citation from this paper. It's a ping pong or round robin going on. They acknowledge it. We also need to start thinking this way. Okay? Then this is from Xinhua, their core newspaper. Xinhua says India's forest reserves have gone up to 692 billion. Actually, today it has gone across 700. So there is again something happening which they are now telling us. Many of us don't believe it, but they are telling us, कि भाई तुम आगे बढ़ रहे हो. That puts them on the horn of a dilemma. भाई ये तो पीछे आ रहा है हमारा, हम तो आगे दौड़ रहे हैं, हमारा स्पीड कम हो गया, ये पीछे वाला आ रहा है हमारे साथ। वो डर है, मेरे हिसाब से वो डर है, डर, फियर। Look at this. US India chip deal opens up new front in tech war versus China. So their bad dreams are coming true. They say, look, India and China get together and they're going to out manufacture us for chips. That's happening. 2 years back, a lot of people used to ask me questions, sir, हमारा chip factory कहाँ है, हमारा chip factory कहाँ है? फिक्र मत करो, चाइना वाला बताएगा आपको chip factory कहाँ है। पिछले साल आया था कि इंडिया हैज फेल्ड इन मेकिंग चिप्स, ये वो, बट देयर आर अबाउट 4-5 chaps who say we are ready, we going to make chips tomorrow. एक बार चिप शुरू कर दिया इधर तो you will see the change automatically. The rate of change. The rate of change is important. And then, oh, they are worried. Quad has planned petrol in the South China Sea. The moment Quad starts going into the South China Sea, what happens? That Quad petrol might be one country at a time, it might be all 4 countries at a time. So that the claims of China that South China Sea is mine and anything which happens here, I will control it, is being challenged by 4 countries. And India is part of them. So what does it do with India? Can it come on the border? It can't. Those days are gone. And we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this as part of the Chanakya dialogues. Oh, incidentally, next, from Monday onwards, we're going to start a series of Chanakya dialogues, webinars. We're going to get the best of people to talk to you on this. And I've requested Rajiv Narayanan, we're going to have 2 or 3 episodes on China alone. Both of us. We've decided what are the subjects. One will be on 12th or 13th. We're going to assess what's China's power, national power. We're also going to see, will China have the same fate as Japan or USSR or both? They have a problem. So, Chinese are carrying out illegal fishing. We know that because they're far out of their area. They're encroaching into others' territorial seas. But once the Quad gets into action, China has to start rethinking. The important thing is, we keep saying China is coming into the Indian Ocean. Now, India is going into the Chinese Ocean. We can call it anything. In fact, I would now start saying we shouldn't call it the South China Sea. We should call it the Philippine Sea or the West Asian Sea or whatever. East Asian Sea, Western Pacific. That's why most of the time I call it Western Pacific. So there are problems which China has to face, and they have to face it squarely. As days go by, people say Quad is not a military thing. Yeah, it's not military. I agree. But it is military. Because Quad came on the basis of naval exercises. Malabar exercises hone wala hai abhi. So why are you doing Malabar exercises, Quad countries? Someone has to explain this. Chinese understand it. We have to convince ourselves कि भैया हमारे पास शक्ति है, चलो। अब ये भी इनको दिक्कत है. See, these are the kind of reporting which tells you that they are worried. So far, the Ukraine war has not come under anyone's grip. For the first time, Modi ji went to Russia, he went to Ukraine. He's not made headway, but he's made contact. Both have said, yes, India can mediate. China last year sent, Xi Jinping sent one person to Zelensky and to Putin and both said get lost. हमने कुछ नहीं करना. बोल तो दिया कि हाँ हाँ देखेंगे देखेंगे, but that was the end of the story. But here our Prime Minister himself has gone. And both have responded, said yes, if India can mediate, we'll come forward. So there is a change in our status. And they understand it. Though this article says, oh, can India do it? Yeah, wo, but they're worried. Now just think of a scenario. If we pull off something like this, and our Prime Minister gets a Nobel Peace Prize, where does India go? Soft power. That is the point we have to understand. Okay. Now, Kashmir elections are over, and results are will come out tomorrow, and day after we'll discuss it. If not day after 8th or 9th, that's coming. I'm going to get a good panel from Kashmir to talk about it as part of the Chanakya dialogues. Join me then. Also subscribe to Gunner Shot and like this video. This is now getting reported in Sochena Morning Post. What did we do? We took a lot of people from Delhi, ambassadors and all, took them to Kashmir during the second phase of elections and showed them, see how elections are going on. And they interacted and they spoke freely to all our press. They know this thing. Now they come out and say, no, China is saying, oh, wrong narrative. So the democracy is at work. And this is something which we need to realize, the power of democracy. You know, the other day when I went to Manaksha Center and spoke on how to respond to China, my view was that, look, Pakistan has a radical Islamist ideology. China has hardcore communism. What is our ideology? Is our ideology secularism? Is our ideology Hindutva? Or our ideology is democracy? Whatever that ideology, we must put it on ground. That's the point. Look at this. Today, there's a glut in global steel industry. Prices have fallen completely. Why? China is not consuming. Which is that industry which consumes steel most? Property. In China, it's gone down. So all the steel industry in China is trying to export. But we don't want to be dumped. But what these chaps did beforehand, they saw it coming. So they relocated their steel mills to Vietnam. So what have we done? We said whether the steel is from China or from Vietnam, no, we'll not take it. We'll put 30% tariff. We made it costly for them so that they don't dump here. If they dump, our markets will get wiped out. So we're already taking steps and they're worried. We are the only ones who got very high tariffs on EVs and so many other things. What USA has not been able to do, we've done when we banned TikTok. We did it overnight. Till night, that's not happened in USA. So there is and they're worried now. This is now such reporting when it comes. You read through this reporting and you read through the analysis, you understand that there's a problem within China. And then now China is also worried. You don't go and invest in India. Why they are worried? What did we do to their mobile phone firms? Xiaomi and all that. I don't know whichever they are. Those chaps were doing fudging of accounts and siphoning money out of India. We put cases against them, उनका पूरा जब्त कर लिया, उनका बैंक अकाउंट फ्रीज कर लिया हमने. So these chaps wanted to come with their EVs and set up factories and all. Their own government is saying don't go to India. Why? They'll get caught here. Because joke hai. After all, at the end of the day, the Chinese are not straight. So, of course, they included Turkey. Turkey is their friend, but that's a different story. So you see they're in a problem. Okay. And then Apple, iPhone is diversifying supply chain away from China. Yep, Apple 16, iPhone 16 is to be produced from India. Now, in this context, there's a fire which was in the iPhone Tata's plant here. The questions are, was it sabotage? Their problem are they going it this way? Highly possible. But will it stop us? No, we'll go ahead. I have no doubt. Okay. There's a very funny article which says India allows non-basmati rice, white rice exports to boost global supply. You read through this article, they're worried कि भैया इंडिया से जो चावल आता है that stabilizes global supply. Earlier it was China which was doing all this nonsense, but now India's control, you stabilize the global markets. Momentum. What the Chinese economy said, momentum. The momentum is with us. We as Indians have to understand it. Not ask questions कि ये सर वो आके हमें लड़ाई करेगा कि नहीं. वो लड़ाई नहीं करेगा, फिक्र मत करो. उसकी तो बत्ती बंद है यार. अच्छा, ये बड़ा विचित्र चीज है ये. Will Mumbai's 6.9 billion road plan fix gridlock in India's finance? Did you hear about it? Did you hear? I didn't hear. I didn't even know that Mumbai is going to spend $6.9 billion on roads. And it is supposed to be Mumbai in minutes. That's their watchword. हमें तो पता ही नहीं था. ये चाइना वाला बता रहा हमें कि भैया तुम्हारे देश में ऐसे हो रहा है, देख लो. बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है वो. क्यों? क्योंकि वो पीछे मुड़ के देख रहा है कि यार ये मेरा पीछे वो इंडियन पड़ गया, ये मूछ वाला पड़ गया मेरे पीछे. आप सोचो हमारे अंदर का शक्ति क्या है, उसको नजर आ रहा है, हमें नहीं नजर आता है ना. अब ये देखो, these are two articles. India's middle class is reshaping tourism. और middle class is going and spending. उनका नहीं जा रहे हैं कोई. And there's a travel boom of $33 billion from India, from Bollywood to Europe, and the world is watching. वो बोल रहा है कि वर्ल्ड इज वॉचिंग. वो तो हमें देख ही रहा है, हम अपने आप को देखते नहीं है. देखो ऐसा है कि आई एम नॉट boasting or something. I'm talking of the rate of growth. Personal example. When I was a youngster, हम सोच भी नहीं सकते थे कि एरोप्लेन में चढ़े हम. आर्मी ऑफिसर, क्योंकि एक पूरा महीने का तनख्वाह जो है ना, was not enough for an air ticket. जब शादी हुआ, हाँ जी शादी हो गया तो एयर टिकट खरीद सकते हैं, पर उसके लिए काफी रकम देना पड़ता था. 50% ऑफ माई पे फॉर एयर टिकट फ्रॉम बॉम्बे टू चेन्नई. नॉट अफोर्डेबल. मच लेटर वो एलटीसी में आई कुड टेक माई फैमिली फॉर बाई एयर once in a year. थिंग्स चेंज्ड. अभी क्या है, अभी मैं दिल्ली सुबह जाता हूँ, शाम तक आ जाता हूँ वापस. हमें मैं तो देखता भी नहीं हूँ कि कितना टिकट है, क्योंकि द टिकट इज नॉट मच. इज इट बिकॉज आई एम अ जनरल? नो. व्हेन आई गो इन एयरपोर्ट, ऐसी आम आदमी उनसे बात करता रहता हूँ. बच्चे हैं, यंग पीपल, दे आल्सो डूइंग द सेम थिंग. आई एम वेरी प्राउड दैट इंडिया हैज चेंज्ड. पीपल 30s 40s नौकरी कर रहे हैं. वो उस दिन एक लड़की को मिला मैं, वो मीडिया में है, वो शी इज फ्रॉम चंडीगढ़, हर हेडक्वार्टर्स इन चेन्नई. है यार, ये बड़ा विचित्र बात है. कुछ कहती है वहाँ मैं महीने में 3 बार 4 बार आता हूँ, मतलब हफ्ते में एक बार आती है चंडीगढ़ से यहाँ तक, अपने बॉस को मिलके वापस चले जाती है, वहां काम करती है. देयर इज सम चेंज हैपनिंग इन इंडिया. वी डोंट रियलाइज इट, दे रियलाइज इट. दैट इज वाई इनके दिमाग में यार करना क्या है इस इंडिया के साथ. देखो, तुम्हारे दोस्त तो बोलेंगे तुम अच्छे हो, पर दुश्मन बोलेगा तो तब मामला, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट बिलीविंग इन योरसेल्फ. वहां फोर्ड नहीं आता, फोर्ड यहां आ रहा है. फोर्ड वहां लपेट लिया उसने, चाइना में. एंड ही इज ओपनिंग अप अ प्लांट हियर. वही बात है, हमें नहीं पता था, पर चाइना वाला बता रहा है कि भाई तुम्हारे, ये मेरा चेन्नई में है भाई, फोर्ड यहाँ आना वाला है इधर. Because to be very honest, I knew because the prime minister, the chief minister of Tamil Nadu had gone to USA, and he said he spoke to Ford, and Ford is coming and setting up a plant here. But equally, this gets reported in China. Potential market potential of India, they are worried. And did you know this? Bangalore Space Expo held in Bangalore. A Global Times का है, Global Times. I knew that the Space Expo is happening in Bangalore. That's because from IIT we sent people and all that. But did you know that? Like a Def Expo, Space Expo हो रहा है इंडिया में, the market is changing. And it gets reported in Global Times. वो देख रहा है, उसको दिक्कत है दिमाग में कि भैया ये भी अंतरिक्ष में पहुंच रहा है. चेंज. ठीक है. ये India tops China for first time in a key MSCI equities index. MSCI is metals and commodities index. We have crossed them. तो आज एक हुआ, कल दो होगा, परसों 3 होगा, कुछ दिन के बाद बहुत कुछ होगा. और उसको ना प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. आई ऑल्सो डिडंट नो दिस. If you see in the right corner, I'll enlarge it. One of the interns in the China Center for Chennai Center for China Studies, she came out with it in the weekly roundup and said, "Sir, ये हो रहा है." Okay, so there's something happening in India which we have to understand. And now they are saying there are this नौटंकी आ रहा है कि इंडिया चाइना signal ties in diplomatic and border efforts, keen to move forward. They want to move forward. That's the dilemma. And our external affairs minister said, look, how we interact with each other, the India-China relationship is the key to the future of Asia. It's no more that China is the future of Asia. It's India-China. We are forcing them to accept that India is a heavyweight. They have no choice. And then our external affairs minister went to UN and openly criticized China and India, Pakistan. What did he say? This article, this is what he says. Connectivity that flouts sovereignty and territorial integrity acquires strategic connotations, especially when it is not a shared endeavor. So he's very put the thing straight on China. Unviable projects raise debt levels. These are things which is spoken. Over concentration of production has hollowed out many economies, impacting their employment and social stability. In a way, he's saying, yeah, तुम सबको hollowed कर रहे हो, यहाँ मत आना. And he's very clearly said Pakistan and China are undermining in territorial integrity of India in that speech. Implied. Some years back, we couldn't say that also. And then look at this. This is very interesting. The headline on the left is that when Dissanayake got elected as the president of Sri Lanka, the headline comes Sri Lanka to seek maximum support from China under new leader. Why? Because he's a communist. And उसमें तो आप देखो कि हमने इंडिया का पत्ता काट दिया and this fellow will now come towards China and all that. 10 days later, the story changes. It says India gains advantage over China. They say कि भाई ये मान नहीं रहा. क्यों? मोमेंटम हमारे साथ है. तो इसने बोल दिया कि भाई ठीक है हम बैलेंस करेंगे ये करेंगे पर इंडिया के बिना हम जाएंगे कहाँ. यही बात आप वेट करो बांग्लादेशी भी आएगा पूंछ मुरोड़ के आएगा इसमें डाउट नहीं है. And but the dilemma is that he is not going to allow you to become UN में say permanent seat. He will not allow. He will be ready to give it to Germany, Japan, but India he will not allow. Because if India gets the veto right, it will go against China and only, and Pakistan will get the first kick. Okay, so all these things, if you see, there's a major problem with the way China thinks, and that's how they, this thing which came out. India sends deterrent message with missile intercept test near Indian border. Let me explain this. This was a subsonic cruise missile tested at high altitude. They knocked off anti-cruise missile test. But we don't have subsonic cruise missiles for high altitude. हमारे तो सारे सुपरसोनिक है. तो कौन सा टेस्ट है ये? People who didn't understand it वो तो बोलते हैं ओ यार उसने टेस्ट कर दिया ये कर दिया वो कर दिया. But this test is a useless test as far as we are concerned. Hey, just think. They're still playing their games. You have to see through those games. And now China is also trying to get Pakistan into BRICS. The dilemma is, do they cooperate with us or go against us? In the later part of this presentation, I've shown you. At one end, they're trying to cooperate with us. At the other end, they're trying to contest us. Same thing in their economy. I mean, as far as those things are concerned, I think we are uncontrollable now. It is beyond them. Once upon a time, they could do a lot of things, but no more. Cooperation, confrontation, cooperation, contestation. ये कहानी चलता रहेगा. कितना will they succeed? I don't know. And I don't think they'll succeed. And lo and behold, this article came out today. This article talks of the fact that poverty is coming back into China. 2 years back, Xi Jinping said poverty is out of China. But now he says poverty is coming back to China in this. There are cities and there are neighborhoods where there is absolute abject poverty in China. Normally, this doesn't get reported, but I'm surprised it got reported today. That means the situation must be really bad. Now, look at it against this. Have a look at this as a full picture. As Indians, we should be proud. Look at this. 75, what was the thing? In 1975, we started the Integrated Child Development Program. 2024, you see the picture. And this is not my picture. This is a UNICEF picture. UNICEF is now saying this is what India has achieved. We should be proud of it. And I'm sure someone in China is also seeing this fully. Right? So if you see the whole thing, there's a change which has happened in India, right? Which we should be cognizant of. And the gap between India and China at some place is reducing. And the momentum is shifting. And the shift is towards us. We need to understand this. Right? So I thought I'll put all this across to you, because after this, my next thing, I did one with Rajiv Narayanan the other day. There's a second one. And the third one, I'm going to talk of the coming war with China. That's on Monday. We'll talk of it. Not Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is. I've already put it out. Have a look at it. Why war will happen with China, and how will it happen, and when will it happen? Okay. So I thought I'll share all this with you. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this. I'll take your questions now, and I request you, if you like, press the like button. Join in as a member. A lot of people have joined in as members. I'm very thankful to all of them. For some reason, those members who have joined, their things are not coming on StreamYard these days. Otherwise, I would have flashed your thing here. And please subscribe. That's about all. Right. Yeah. Why is your logo not coming? Something happened. I'll ensure it. Right. Says their infrastructure is lying unused, unattended by the youth of China. And fun fact, the infrastructure is developed there, included in the GPay, which is I agree with you. There's no doubt about it. Is China looping all money invested abroad in China for health and tech investment, or is it a failed? Yeah, it's hocus pocus. They're not doing anything very great. They lost their way, actually. They lost their way. Okay. So China worldview is that the Middle Kingdom version as center of the world, and you have referenced it in the past. Ultimately, India's rise doesn't allow China to be separate. There's no Middle Kingdom and all. वो सब उनका कहानी है. That's all gone. Even if you declare bankruptcy, you have to still pay the mortgage you can't afford to pay. Yes, I agree with you. So the present decline in the stock market in Bharat is attributable to the West Asian configuration and flight from FPI to China. Would this assist the China recovery? It will not. Like I said, the structure, that's what people say. Okay, it has gone up now, but is it sustainable? The question is, the sustainability is a suspect as far as the Chinese overall economy is concerned. Okay. Yeah, Haqqani is saying this. Look, this Haqqani is the ambassador. Hussein Haqqani is a good chap, incidentally. Okay, 24 IMF data, GDP, USD trillions, world 109, China 28.7, China USA 28.7, China 18.5, Germany 4.5, Japan 4.1, India 3.9. Question: in which year will India be number 3? And will US will stay number 1? Let's be very clear. That's not going anywhere. Because the systems are there. The systems are very strong in the US. Okay. The By 2030, we should be number 3. Another 5-6 years, maybe before that. Okay, and we should have been in the $6 to $7 trillion mark. So that's how it is. Let us see how it goes. Yeah, holding so much US Forex reserve leaves us at a disadvantage when the dollar turns to dust. Resistant dollar will not turn to dust. Don't worry. Today I was just reading an article which from Carnegie Endowment. One of China's biggest problem is what will it do with all the dollars it has? It can't offload it. People talk now dollarization, de-dollarization, hora and all that. China can't de-dollarize with the amount of dollars they are holding. Their economy is dollar dependent. The US and Chinese economies are fused together despite the elevated levels of customs duty on imports by US. It would appear that both these economies are in decline. Your views? US economy is not in decline. They'll get out of it. Let me be very clear. They are the guys who are pretty smart. They know how to handle themselves. Even if they go into a crisis, they'll come out. China, no. Yeah, my question regarding China expanding is BRI projects towards Indonesia, Malaysia. They recently set HS rail towards Singapore despite debt fear. What your thought about long-term Yeah, they will be. See, please understand. It's not as if China is going to completely collapse tomorrow. It's still a heavyweight economy. It's still the second largest economy. You could call it 15 trillion, 17 trillion, 18 trillion, but it's still a big economy. So you have to contend with China. How you contend with them is the issue. Do you contend them with fear or your confidence? That's the point. Confidently contend करो तो it doesn't matter. उसका क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Yeah, the West and Russia could benefit from India-China conflict as India purchases its arms from them. However, neither India nor China has been able to conquer the other. Then why fighting? You seem to be from Pakistan, so I'll not even talk about it. What should be the ideal defense budget of Bharat from 25 to 29 in terms of percentage terms, absolute value in billions? Which year our military budget will cross 100 billion a year? I'll not go into the 2 and 3, but percentage terms, I'm very clear we should be somewhere about 2.5%. So that means from 2 to 2.5. It's a 25% increase. So when you can do that, the rest everything will fall in place. Okay. ASPI research says that China is leading in most of the critical technology, but you say that China is declining. Whom to believe? Your choice. Take a call. China is declining. It's very good in technology. They don't have, people. Economy is about people. It's not about robots. It's not about technologies. Economy is about people. Nations are about people. They're losing people. Where's culture? Gone. Where's systems? Gone. So a lot of change which is happening in China which you don't understand. Where they don't have water. Right? They don't have resources. Technology alone won't solve their problems. Yeah. Do you think the protest that Samsung factory in Tamil Nadu might be backed by China because they did it at that Sterlite factory? The Sterlite factory was closed in Tamil Nadu. I keep giving this example. They ensured that the Sterlite factory got closed because of many issues. And when that Sterlite factory got closed, from being a net exporter of copper, we became a net importer of copper. And from where? China. So let's be very clear that fire, share, all this is part of that story. Okay, you said our PM Modi ji getting Nobel Prize. Do you foresee forecast predicted? According to you, why will Modi ji get it? For what? What could be its impact globally, geopolitically? See, if Modi ji can get about a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, he'll get it, and he'll deserve it also. The geopolitical impact of this is huge. Okay, very huge. But let us see. Yeah, Shinde doesn't know about this plan. I agree. China knows. Yeah, what should India remove the subsidies given to export price farming as we indirectly fund Chinese food supplies too? Oh, that's a fact which you have to take our own issues. You don't do give subsidies just because China is buying your rice and things like that. You have to take a lot of things into consideration. So Chinese and Bangladeshis must be having nightmares after watching. I don't know whether they have it or not, but I would request more people to attend and please send this video to others to understand what's happening in China. You have to see what is their viewpoint. That's the more important thing. We are in the top five in critical technologies as per SP, and we are a $4 trillion economy. At what GDP number we will be rival China and US of A? You need to cross 10 trillion. Seven, I think the moment you cross 7 trillion, that's the estimation of a lot of people. 7 to 8 trillion, the moment you cross, you become a heavyweight, real heavyweight. Then people can't ignore you. Okay, that's the first thing. The moment you become 10 trillion, you are in competition with all these fellows. Okay, what does a peaceful India China coexistence look like? For we both are competing for almost everything land, water, resources like oil and metals, influence, investment. Can't foresee it. I can't foresee it. There's no peaceful coexistence till the border is sorted out. There's no, let's not have doubts about it. The border has to be sorted out for peaceful coexistence. That thing that you can peacefully coexist with the border not being resolved. We tried it for 10 years, it didn't work. Okay, pardon the digression from subject. Any comments on exit polls coming on Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana? I've not seen the exit polls so far. Uh, right, I've not. I mean, I don't know what the exit polls are. This much I know. Whether exit polls say or not, the chances of a hung assembly in JNK are okay, but the chance. My gut feeling is NC plus Congress will rule Kashmir, and there might be a bullet fair in Haryana. But let us see what happens. Yeah. Any update on the political status of Xi Jinping within top level power struggles of CCP? Is Xi still down and out, sideline, less visible publicly, or that issue is fading? No, no, it's not fading. If you see, he's come back into public life. There's no doubt. But he's not letting go of his policy. People want to change, and they're not getting that equilibrium. That's the confusion which is coming out in the stimulus. If you see the stimulus, people are worried about it, and they say, "Look, there's a problem there." So let us see how this whole story goes. Uh, I wouldn't like to comment at this point of time. One has to watch. Yeah, Chinese espionage in Taiwan to conquer Taiwan by other methods, then amphibious war. Yeah, we did all this, during their elections and all that. But it's not succeeding. Yeah, excuse me, poverty never left. I agree with you, but they've declared officially that poverty is left. Now they're now declaring it's coming back. That's the point. Yeah. Please give your opinion on de-dollarization in the coming decade. It will not happen. Your dollar transactions will go down, but de-dollarization will not happen. The good thing for us, can BRICS come up with a counter global financial system? It will not come up because India and China will not agree. They will not agree. Okay. Even Brazil will not agree. So forget about it. But what's going to happen is your weight, India's weight is going to expand. And how? Through UPI. UPI will, when people start using UPI and your system, then you'll see a lot of things changing. Yeah, you should read the story of how GM Engineering CEO is streamlined the manufacturing of EV batteries in American plants. Happy? Yeah, send it. Let me read it. Do you think there would be some alternative system instead of currency currently dollar based? No, there's no alternative to dollar. No one comes anywhere near it. You will have a few baskets of currencies which will work. That's why I said our UPI system will be the nearest alternative to SWIFT. US is paying 1 trillion just in debt payments every year and debt still rising. America is in decline. If Democrats come back, can we say RAP? No, you can't. They are quite smart at it. Don't be this thing. They'll balance it because the reserve currency is there. For them, it doesn't matter if they have to print a few more, dollars. They can print as much as they want. Which that's the only country which can do that. Okay. And you listen to Michael Pettis. He explains American debt. So there's a different take on this. I couldn't really fully follow it, but he's not bothered about it. Okay, what is China's game plan in involving itself in Middle East politics? Is this natural extension of BRI? Does China plan to become a military player and tilt balance of power with military supplies? All this is their game plan. They that game plan they extended it to ensure that with the Middle East deal with between Iran and Saudi and all that. That's all gone. Yesterday, if you heard what I spoke in P Gurus with Mr. Shreya here, this is what I said. Now, the moment Iran has threatened Saudi Arabia on their oil fields and all Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, everyone will go and tell USA, yaar, hame bacha lo. Khatam. There ends the peace deal. BRI, CRI chalega. But the political power and the geopolitical power is back in USA's hands. And if something happens to Iran, we'll see what happens. Then Israel is back in business. That's the way it is at this stacked at this point of time. Interesting times ahead, we'll see. IIT Madras created Bharat OS based on for phone. How far is it achieved? Yeah, we've deployed it. It's in the testbed phase in Army. Army is going to adopt it. Okay, next question. Isn't exporting rice to China means? Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but certain things we can't avoid. General sir, now discussion on geopolitics in Bharat. Two words that have become a rage are deep state. Question: what is General Shankar's definition of deep state? How do you define it? See, every country has a deep state. What is the deep state? It is the permanent setup within the state which doesn't change irrespective of which government comes and goes. And they hold the core values of the state. The military, for example, is part of the deep state. Your intelligence is part of the deep state. Your RBI or your financial gurus are part of the deep state. They will tell the politicians, कि भाई ये यहाँ कर सकते हो, ये नहीं कर सकते. So that's the deep state. Okay, this has been our, for example, it's the deep state which is played up when we say we will treat uh, Palestinians and Israel with even hands. Or Iran and Israel, we don't have friends. I might analyze the war differently, who's winning, losing. But I don't choose between Iran and Israel. It's the deep state which is playing. If you want to understand it as a deep state, though I don't believe that story of a deep state. Yeah, what are your views regarding free Jammu from Kashmir? I don't think it can happen. It won't happen. It's politically not feasible. As simple as that. How did the Chinese nuclear submarine sink? It didn't. It is not a nuclear submarine which sank. It is a nuclear submarine under construction which sank. We don't know whether the jetty collapsed or the submarine collapsed, but it has sunk. Oh, thanks a lot, RH. So nice of you. Bhaskar Verma. C7 Globemaster needed by IAF in future for airlift in Himalayas and Ladakh. Yeah, we'll need it. There's no doubt about it. That's the best at this point of time. Sir, members of Imran Khan's party want our EM to address their rally while he is in Pakistan. Hey, it'll be a laugh. Okay, Imran Khan is no friend of ours, so we should be careful. Uh, has government decided on Chinese FDI? Hope they're being kept out. I don't know. I don't look. I have made my noise. Okay, I have written. I won't say written, but at the right places, I have spoken already. I've spoken in army headquarters. I've spoken in this. When I go again, I'll speak, and I've written about it also. I've written pretty strong, you know, articles. Let's see. Z is not letting anyone become powerful. There will be no good leader in the future, similar to what Aurangzeb did, and will lead to the fall of China as soon as Z goes. I agree with you. I've always maintained that Z is our best friend because he'll destroy China, just like Imran Khan destroyed Pakistan. This step will destroy China. Yeah. How can we get back Aksai Chin? Can you see Taiwan invasion as opportunity for India? Adi, I have a different theory on this, and I'm going to one day have uh, broadcast on this. I'm working on it. I'm writing about it, and I'm now getting hang of what will happen in future. And this will happen over the next maybe 15, 20 years. It's not going to happen in a hurry. How I see the future. And that's related to the internal politics of China. It is related to the internal politics of Tibet and Dalai Lama. It is related to climate change and global tensions. The four corners to this whole story. I'll work on it and I'll come back. I'll make it interesting. Just for your information, all of you, I'm going to address a symposium on Tibet, which is being held in Bangalore by the Central Tibetan Authority. They called me to speak about India, China, and Tibet. So I'll sound them out then, my ideas, and then I'll come back and talk to you chaps about it. Chinese espionage capability to conquer Taiwan, not much. Yeah, Russia relies on Syria for Mediterranean access near south flank of NATO. Will Russia accept being evicted from there? Will its desire to stay cause it to come to Iran's defense against attack? Russia is in no position to come to anyone's help. The Jable Air Base or Kemiam Air Base, which is next to Jable, was bombed. Not the air base next to that. No one and Russia couldn't intercept, do nothing. So leave it at that. Do a podcast on Chinese intelligence agency, how powerful it is. Is it more powerful than raw? Definitely. You don't need a thing about that. It's pretty powerful. Okay. And yeah, this is an important thing. One of the things in China is the follow on leadership is not there, it's non existent. Okay. Just like in many other countries, autocratic countries. No autocrat will allow a follow on leadership to come. Look, let me put it very bluntly. To some extent, that's a problem with the BJP also. And that's why they might lose the, yeah, this not letting anyone become powerful. You know, there's a problem there. So I think I have, yeah, I watched your video on Indians nuclear power generation and it was great. I learned a lot. So please make another detailed video. I will. Let me, we'll get over this because at this point of time, there are too many things happening. कश्मीर का इलेक्शन हो रहा है, बांग्लादेश चिड़ा हुआ है, चाइना के साथ मैं that I'll not give up. Whether you people like it or not, there will be one or two every week on China. West Asia में problem है. So a lot of things are happening. I'm not able to get my hands into technology. In fact, I've requested General KJ Singh to come and speak on Indus Water Treaty and how to abrogate it. I have to work it out how to do all this. We'll see. Okay. So I think I've finished. Yeah, last question, JB's. What will happen in the coming week or so in West Asian conflict? Will Israel take any action on Iran? Yeah, they'll take action. They do. They can't keep quiet. They will. What would be the Chinese role so far, or the lack of it so far? And look, I told you yesterday also. If you will go back to that video towards the end, I said China is stuck in South China Sea. Maybe someday, if I explain to you what's happening in South China Sea, you will understand that China can't extricate itself from South China Sea. Forget coming to Himalayas. They'll not even go to Taiwan. They can't. Forget coming to help Iran. Russia is stuck. So Iran is isolated. That's what I said yesterday. You go back to what I spoke yesterday with Shreya here, you will understand what I said. Okay, fine. So we've done the whole thing. Thanks a lot for watching. I'd again like to thank you people for the contribution you have made. Right. Thank you once again for this contribution. So nice of you. Uh, Keep it going. I want more subscriptions and more members to join in to help the cause out. Because the thing is becoming so much now, I have to start employing someone to help me out. So far, I was hands free. The input was all mine. It was free service. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? In Tirupati, it is called Dharma Seva, free service. But now I probably have to start employing. So if I have to start employing people to work, because what's happening to me is that I can talk, I can do everything, I can prepare, but handling the back end of this, I'm not able to do. So far, I was doing it. And I can't do because I had to travel. A lot of people are now calling me to speak, which I was avoiding. And a lot of my projects are also there in IT, which I cannot avoid. I mean, I don't want to avoid because that's technology. So I'll need money, as simple as that. So that comes if more people watch, more subscribers and things like that, and contributions, right? So that's all I can say. Thanks a lot again, Arich, for your contribution. So grateful. Good evening, Jai Hind. We'll talk tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll talk at 6 o'clock. I'm going to talk on 4-5 issues which concern the nation. One election, one nation, one election. Mediation. Can we do mediation? These are a few things I'm going to talk of. I'm going to spend Sunday not on current affairs. I mean, when I say current affairs, on other issues. I will talk on, oh, Jack. So nice of you, Jack. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this contribution. So I'm going to talk of other things, which we normally discuss. Let's discuss that also. Non-political for the nation. Right. With this, thank you. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you.